Okay, this is part 4. Now we're under the lead-based paint disclosures. This is for any property that was built before 1978, and then that may contain lead-based paint. In this, you have not ever seen the house, so in this instance, you don't have any knowledge of any lead-based paint, and there are no reports or records. We did not search for any records for any lead-based paint in this property, so it would be reasonable to assume that there's probably some in there, but you do not have actual records pertaining to it. This one here is just a little bit to explain the previous or the next document that comes through, and this is for any demand in possession or payment shall be in writing, addressed to the person. So basically they changed it where if you're going to demand possession or any payment, it has to be in writing and addressed to the person in possession. What this does, which is the next sheet here, is this allows you to conduct in writing as electronic form, because the actual acts on those determined they didn't have anything like that. So on this one, it's a simple case of just filling it out, and we have the tenant and you sign that one. This is the commencement termination inventory checklist. This is done by the tenants. This is a requirement of the security deposit laws. So in this, they must fill this out on their move-in date, listing whether or not there is anything in the property that has a defect or any marks, anything like that that they want to note, so that when they move out, it can be noted that the property was in that same condition. Little scratches, anything like that, chips, a wall, anything like that. Every house will have a little bit of something. So it's I tell people to take a photo and include it with it. But this is required for us based on the security deposits, and has to be filled out by them. So as you can see, there is several pages of this form. So the last part on here is when it is at the end. So this is your receipt of it, and this is the date of inspection. This is the move out date. So this is when they actually move out from there. They give it back to you. This is just a handy document because this has contact details, because God forbid it ever happens, but a tenant, if they pass away, it would be really nice to be able to have someone to be able to call and let someone know. So this is emergency contact information. This is the security deposits. I do see that it is in here. So in here, as you can see, it's got name of financial institution, address, and the two-part address. You're not going to do a security bond unless you really wish to. It is an option. However, I would just generally stay with keeping it in an account. So as you can see, you do not have to list the account details. You just have to list where it is. And the reason that you have to do this is because if it ever goes to court or anything like that, the judge will ask to see where those funds are, and they will take rights to disperse from that account. This one here is the water affidavit. So the tenants upon completing the filling out the lease, will then take this to the township. They will pay the township. They will give the township $500, which goes into a township escrow account for unpaid water bills if they move out and don't pay. At this point in time, the water goes off your name, the water and sewer, and becomes in their name, so that any water, any bills like that become theirs. So this is the other part of the affidavit for that. And then this is the pet agreement. This one is the one that I always like to add to it. So this agreement attaches to the forms and has them name their pets that they're going to put into there and describe them. In this, it then gives them other terms for it. So tenants agree to keep their pet under control at all times. Tenants agree to keep their pet restrained on leashes at all times when it is outside their dwelling. Tenants agree not to leave their pets unattended for any reasonable periods. Tenants agree to dispose of their pets' droppings immediately. I didn't remove this part ever, but it's kind of, I find it funny. It's not necessary, but by sealing them in a bag and depositing them in the proper container. That somewhat can be there to stop neighbors deciding that they're going to use a shovel and put it over the next door neighbor's fence. In a sense, covering their required need of removing it, but not necessarily removing it in a very good way. Tenants also agree to keep their pet from causing any annoyances or discomfort to any others, and will remedy immediately any complaints made through the owner or manager. Any complaint or number of complaints may require immediate removal of the pet at the discretion of the owners and landlords. And that's one where it's just be fair. Sometimes dogs bark, cats might get out and chase a bird or some other thing like that. But just be reasonable with it. Some people just have a bad day and get angry at a pet for some, and if it keeps repeating or the pet does become a nuisance, it does give you the opportunity. Most of the times it's going to turn more into terminating the lease agreement other than removing the pet, because most people won't want to remove their pet. On this part here, tenants agree to pay immediately for any damages, loss or expense caused by their pet, and in addition they will add, I always put $100 because it's not unreasonable for $100, and it's not something where they then could claim that they've paid so much that they don't have to pay for any damages that their pet caused. And this is a non-refundable fee and has the right to be used for any cleaning or repairs when they vacate. Tenants agree that the owners reserve the right to revoke permission to keep the pet should the tenants break any of this agreement. So, also tenants agree to pay a pet fee. I generally do it as between $15 and $25 for a dog, and $10 to $20 for each cat. If additional dogs or cats are to be kept on the premises without the written approval of the owner or representative, owner has the right to evict the tenant. Monthly pet fee will not be prorated should the tenant no longer possess the dog or the cat. So if they do get if the dog or cat, something happens the second day of the month, they can't turn around and want 90% of their money back for that month. All animals must have written proof of up-to-date shots and vaccinations and be licensed where applicable. Written proof must be provided to the owner representative within 10 days of acquiring the pet. Tenant does not allow the following. If tenant does not follow this agreement and is evicted for lack of compliance, all monies lost due to this vacancy are owed to the landlord by the tenant. If any part of the pet agreement is violated or the pet becomes a nuisance or a hazard to others, property management can require the pet to be removed and or terminate tenancy. So that's the part where they can terminate the tenancy based on the pet becoming too over the top. If only the pet is removed, This will have no effect on the validity of the signed lease agreement, which the tenant will still have to adhere to. So if the pet does become removed, or they do take the option of removing the pet, it doesn't automatically cancel any of the rest of the lease. At the end of the lease term, and upon vacating the premises, tenant agrees to pay for any and all damages that were caused from having the pets on the premises. That is in another part there, but this is just, it allows it to be done in two places. So when they vacate, they have to pay for any damages, but also intermediately, if there's any damages while they're there or anything that happens that has to be repaired immediately and it's directly the cause of a dog or a cat. A good example of that is, say they chew off the bottom of a door, which I've seen before, then they are still liable during the middle of that term. That is all for those documents. I will do another video in another couple of days which runs over a little bit of the Michigan book with some of the laws in it that we might be able to use for our benefit, and I just think that you should know. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.